Welcome to the Zoe Routh Leadership Podcast, where we explore the future and what this means for your leadership. We ask the big questions. What's happening on the horizon? What does this mean for us? And most importantly, what skills do I need now for leadership of the future? It's time to explore. Let's go.
Hey, it's Zoe. Welcome to the show. And on Planet Human this week, Twitter has rebranded to X. Dun, dun, dun. Elon Musk has killed off Twitter, the bird, and is now branding with his big X. What does this mean? Or better question, what could this mean? As of yet, not sure. I think finally we're starting to see the full hand of what Elon was looking for when he bought Twitter, and that's to have a platform to roll out a whole new business enterprise to fund his space adventures and other projects, of course. If he is truly going to make a all-in-one app that can be a banking, a communication platform, and not just a social media site, then he still has a ways to go, I reckon. So does the rebrand help? Probably yes, because I don't think he wants Twitter to operate the same way it ever did. And it's taken a while. He's bought the people, he's bought the platform, he's transforming it. So what could this mean? Stay tuned. Elon doesn't do anything by halves, and so it would be interesting to see how this plays out. In the meantime, there is Meta's new platform Threads, which I have got an account on and promptly done nothing with it. Probably a better question to ask is social media dead? I'm thinking it's on its way out. Will anything replace it? Not sure. Okay, so not terribly visionary, lots of questions in that space, but keep an eye out. On Planet Zoe, just this morning, I got the typesetting manuscript back from the typesetters, so it's going to be put through its final proofreading process, and then I'll be able to list it for pre-orders and get it all set up in the back end of the website. So this is pretty exciting from my point of view on Planet Zoe. So the question I have for you today is, do you want to get better at asking for help or asking for a pay rise or for asking for anything really? Well, my guest today is an expert in this area. Her name is Laura Fredricks, and she has written a really awesome book called Hard Asks Made Easy: How to Get Exactly What You Want. And I love this book. It's a great handbook. It's got some really clear directives on how to structure your ask, how to prepare for an ask, and how to avoid some critical challenges in making an ask. So if you've ever had second thoughts about asking for anything or nervous about it, this is the episode for you, and that is the book for you. So in the meantime, on with the show. All the way from New York City, welcome to the show, Laura Fredricks.
Hello, everyone.
Well, this is going to be fun. We set our intention to have fun with this one, because what could be more fun than asking? I think asking is not fun, actually. So we'll get into that. But first question, how did you get into this line of work?
Several careers. I started out as a journalist, asking good questions to get the story. And then I moved on to law, and I discovered that I won almost all my cases on cross-examination, asking the powerful questions. I moved then into philanthropy, figuring out at that point, that's how I developed the ask and the structure and focus and organization that goes into making an ask, raising over $1 billion from individuals, corporations, and nonprofits. And then I discovered that really the world needs to know how to do this easily, effortlessly, no anxiety, no stress, no hesitation. And that's why I created the ask.
Wow, that's a big promise. No stress, no hesitation. So
none.
I want to pick up one thing you mentioned there as a lawyer, as a cross-examiner. You said you learned the art of powerful question. What makes a question powerful?
Listening first, figuring out the question you want to ask, and then asking it.
Okay, so listening first. What are you listening for?
Clues. I have a mantra. We'll explore a lot of them as we go on. My first mantra is people leave clues. You miss every one of them. And I did very, very often, especially are you seeing their body position? Are you listening to what they're saying? Are you picking up the most minute detail made me win so many cases because I had great mentors who told me, what did they say? You missed this. And I'm like, yeah, I did. You go back and say, were your hands in this position? Yes. Were you looking forward? Yes. Would it be impossible to admit, you did not see what was behind you? Yes. Done. Case over.
Wow. So that's, I'm just trying to visualize that now. So you're cross-examining a witness and you said, were you doing this? Were you doing this? Is it possible that? Then the reason the case is over is because you were leading them down a garden path and you caught them out?
No, I caught them saying that they saw something that was literally behind their back and it would be literally impossible for them to have seen what they claim happened.
Right. Oh my God. How does your brain actually do that?
Yeah. Everyone's brain can do it if you have the patience to listen. And that's it. Listening is a dying art. I always say you have second mantra. You have to listen with presence. You have to be totally focused. Nothing else is going on. What is it that you need to get done? Listen to it and then go on from there. And we'll talk more about it as we go on my formula for the ask. But as far as law, that really, really served me well. And then I just carried that over to raising money. And then I carried that over to creating the ask and writing my 7 books about it.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. What's the next best question I should ask you?
The hardest ask I think people need to make.
Okay. What is the hardest ask then?
Help.
Yeah, right.
So many people do not ask for help. I understand why. But, if we go through this, I think they'll have such a better quality of life, no matter what age you are. From 5 to 95, asking for help can really, really move your life forward without you feeling incompetent, that you should do it, that you should know how to do it, that you'll be judged. It goes on and on and on. But I think asking for help is probably the most difficult ask and the one that's never made.
All right. So let's lean into that a little bit. You mentioned a couple of them, being embarrassed, etc. What are some of the other reasons why people are afraid to ask for help?
Well, the number one thing is the feeling internally like you're supposed to know how to do this. You're supposed to know how to get there. You're supposed to know this. And we kind of feel like we will be judged if we're just like, can you help me to do this? It has an internal connotation that you're helpless, which is wrong. But I understand the feeling entirely. It is a small thing. I live a half a block from a major metro here in New York City. I can't tell you how many times people are on their phone with Google Maps trying to find the entrance to this subway when it is literally behind them. And I will go up to them with a distance. I know a lot of people don't like that, a distance, and say, may I help you? And they're like, no. And I say, are you trying to find the PATH train? Yeah, we are. I said, it's right behind you. And they're like, oh my God, thank you, on and on. So it's a two-way street. There's all these studies being done that when you actually can give help, you actually feel empowered and wonderful, good self-esteem. So when you think about this, if you're hesitating to asking, think about the other person and how you're really going to help them because they've just helped you.
Right, because it feels good to help someone.
Yes.
I think this is one of the experiences I've had in asking. Recent experience, launching a book. I asked a number of colleagues, will you help me promote my book? And I felt it was a hard thing to ask for because people are busy. They have got their own business to look after, their own lives to look after. And some said yes, some didn't respond at all. And I was like, and trying not to take it personally was hard. And then some people said yes and then didn't follow through. And so then for me, all of that comes into a mix of why it's hard to ask. Because I guess if I'm just channeling this a little bit, I'm reflecting, it's like disappointed that people didn't actually even reply. And second of all, really disappointed that they didn't follow through. And then I sort of talk around in my head about this, like, well, people have lives, etc. Tell me, using that as a little case study, what can we unpack around that experience that's useful for others?
You get into Laura's 5 laws of asking and you violated law number 1.
Oh, what's law number one?
Know exactly what you want with numbers, Zoe, and dates. You can't say, it's fine. Will you help me promote my book? I'm all for you because, I've got a brand new one too, and I had to ask people to endorse it. But here's the difference. What does promoting mean to you? What does promoting mean to them? So let's refine your ask and move forward. You could ask a friend, you seem to have an expertise in social media, particularly Instagram. Would you mind on June 13th, when my book gets out, to make 3 posts? Now look at the difference between promoting my book and being very specific of what they want. A lot of times people can't respond to you because they simply don't know what they're responding to. So Laura's rule number 1, know exactly what you want with numbers. And here's the part everyone leaves out, dates.
Okay. That's great. Wonderful. So this leads us to next question, which is what's law number 2, 3, 4, and 5?
So now let's go through this. So let's say you ask a particular friend to do social media posts by June 13th. Not unreasonable because right now we're only, at June 5th or 6th. So now what we're going to do, rule number 2, write the old-fashioned way, journalist in me, but it works, or type 15 things you think your friend's going to say to you, and then the 15 responses you'll have to that. So I can just go through a lot of this, Why me? What kind of social media posts? What's the content? Do I have to have a picture of the book? Who else is doing this? Are you on another social media platform? Go all the way up to 15. And when you're done, now you answer each one so that you're absolutely ready.
Okay, so that's sort of like listing objections, or are they objections?
No, it's what you think they're going to say. Now remember, mantra number 3, the ask is a conversation. It's not a confrontation. So they're not objections. You're continuing the conversation to something you asked him or her to do.
Okay. So let me clarify. Know exactly what you want with numbers and dates. Then write 15 things you think they will ask or query about. May not be objections, just continuing the conversation. You said write them down. Do you write these answers back to them? Or they're just in your back pocket?
No, you have and I'll get into law number 3. You write it so that you have a running list and you're prepared, because law number 3 is deliver with confidence. Now while we're not on screen, you probably don't know, but I am standing up. And at the moment of the ask, you've got one shot at this. So you need to stand up, body language, absolutely focused. And now you're prepared because you already thought what they're going to say back to you. I did this law for this reason alone. The number 1 reason people don't ask, it is not fear. It is not hesitation. It is not fear of rejection. Since you were 2 years old, what's the first word you heard? No. Many of the people are a little older than 2, so this is not new. Okay? The number 1 reason people do not ask is they're afraid they're going to hear a response they won't know how to respond to. And that's why we have law number 2. You are prepared.
Right. So uncertainty is what keeps people from asking.
The uncertainty of what they'll hear back from their ask.
Okay. Uncertainty of the response. Okay, great. So number 3 is deliver with confidence and
time to shine. You've got one shot maybe at it. Look the part, watch your body language. Mantra number 4, your tone is your superpower. Watch your tone. More people lean in to an ask because it's inviting, it's exciting, they have energy. Watch your tone. It can't be looking down. It can't be looking at your phone. It can't be anything that sounds like a distraction. You will get never an answer. You'll just probably get no answer.
So tone verbally, and so using all your body language cues of paying attention, be focused, eye contact, leaning in. If you're making the ask over email, how do you assure your tone?
You have to be very careful. What I do is I kind of jury it out. I ask some people, if I were to write this, how would it sound? Now that's when, the rule, this, know your audience. If they're very casual, you can write casual. If they're very formal, write formal. In an email, this is tough because I say spend an exorbitant amount of time on the subject line. because that's going to be whether you're open, dismissed, went to spam. And people don't pay attention to that subject line. I can't say what are great ones, but I can say it's got to be something that resonates with the person you want something from.
Right. Okay. Got it. So you've got the ask. So you know exactly what you want. You're writing 15 things to be prepared. You're delivering with confidence and watching your tone. What's law number 5?
Law number 4 is my favorite, and that is clarify what you think you heard.
Okay.
So the most common response is, I have to think about it. Now, number 1, when you hear that, you have, if you're in person, you have to look like the person said yes, not like you look the person said no. Because people say, I didn't get a yes, and their body language tanks immediately. And you're going to lose that. So first thing is make sure you look it. So when you hear I have to think about it, very commonly people say, oh my God, that's so great. I'll get back to you. Let me send you an email. I'll send you more information. And we're filling in the blank because we don't know one important thing. I have to think about it. What is the it? If I don't know what you're thinking about, I can never, ever get this to a conclusion and to a yes. So this is what we do. If you hear it, step back, deep breath, use their first name because they'll wake up, and just say, first name, thank you so much. This is a very important ask. It's a very important moment for both of us. And this is what I say. Anyway, use your own language. These are my words, but anything you want to say is fine. To the extent you feel comfortable, because I want to make someone feel comfortable, can you share with me what you're thinking about? I'm here to help you. And that takes the ask from blurting it out, putting it in the corner where someone has to be the decision maker, and you've brought them back in. And now we are resolving this. The most important part of that is you have to be quiet, because I want to hear what you're thinking about. I've learned this all by my mistakes. Every single one of them. I jumped into assumptions. I asked too much. I asked too little. I asked at the wrong time. I'm going to sour a friend. I'm going to sour a relationship, my relative. And your mind is spinning. Push that all away and just say, to the extent you feel comfortable, can you share with me what you're thinking about? I'm here to help you. And guess what? They tell you. Well, it's like June and I don't do these things until September. Now we know it's the timing. Well, I've never done something this large. I don't think I'm your person. Now we know maybe they think they don't have the skill set to help you. Exactly in your example of, can you promote? And they might be thinking, I don't have a PR firm. I don't want to disappoint you. I can't do this. But now we know. That's law number 4. Reiterate, clarify what you think you heard.
Okay. So law number 5 then.
Plan your next move right there. Because no one is actually going to say, yes, let's do it, go by. What they might do in your example is say, okay, social media, how about I draft up a couple things, you approve it, then I'll do it. Great. Can you do that by this Friday? Keep the calendar going. Otherwise, what difference does it make if they do it this Friday, July 4th, August 4th, September 4th? It's a big difference to you. It's not a big difference to them. Plan your next move right after the ask. And that keeps it nice and tight. You know what you have to think about. I know what you're thinking about. And you're going to get a much quicker, definitive answer. Because I'm assuming what frustrates you the most is not that the people like whatever, but you never got an answer. Or they went away. But if you put it in this framework, you'll get an answer.
At one point, I'm just curious if this fits in for you. So often we're told you need to explain the WIFM, what's in it for me, for the other person. So if you're asking, for example, my situation, please help me promote my book, but with better asking. Do we need to consider the what's in it for me? Is there a what's in it for me with an ask?
That's number 16 on law number 2 of what they'll say to you. That's a good one. Now, you've got to keep this running list.
Right.
What's in it for me? A couple things. You can answer it any way you want. But now that we're talking about it, we can be prepared. What ways could this book or this endorsement or this promotion help you? Can I follow your followers? How can I help you?
So you invite a reciprocity perhaps in there.
Yeah. If they're saying, what's in it for me? Before you jump in and assume that's what they want, say, what is it that you'd like? And sometimes it's just a thank you on social media and you're done.
I think that's a really useful point, because I think, just thinking about my own process now with some of these things, I get stumped on the what's in it for me. It's like, well, I can't see what that might be in for it because it's clearly helpful for me, but what might be helpful I have no idea. And so I don't ask because it feels like a one-way street, instead of actually opening the conversation and inviting them to say, well, I can, if you just, maybe they have a book to promote or maybe just anything. But I think that's, yeah. So sometimes you don't have to have all the answers, but you can have a question for a question.
That is more powerful. I had probably 9 people endorse, very different backgrounds, endorse this latest book. And that's one of the things I said, if you do this, which is great, how can it help you? And they're like, wow, my patients would say, you endorse this book? This is great. Like, you must have been handpicked to endorse it, right? I asked a 20-year-old to endorse it, how this will help you. She said, you know what? Just being part of your book gives me more confidence. That was good enough for her. And she's a sweetheart. I love her. She's one of my mentees. And then like a prominent doctor, because there's a section on health in here. And he's like, you know what? I need to expand my practice. And now that I'm part of like the publication world, that means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Okay. I love it. That just sort of, that's me hesitating because my brain is clicking into like, new awakening, which is awesome. Laura, there's so much to get out of your book. What is the next best thing to ask about it?
The next best thing to ask about it is, why did I write it and what will it do?
By the way, I've never done an interview like this where I throw the questions out. What should I ask you next? And it's fun. Well, it's fun for me.
Well, good. That's what we wanted. Our angle was fun because it's more inviting for your listeners.
All right. So let's throw it back, ping pong it back to you. So why did you write this book and what does it have to offer?
Those are great questions. But I like to answer it. So thank you. Great S. During COVID, that period we don't even want to mention, but it happened. Okay. I got a lot of calls. There were calls. They weren't even emails. They were calls saying this. How do I leave my husband? How do I tell my kids it's time to get out of the house? How do I tell my employer I am not going back again? How do I tell my parents, I've had enough of them? It went on and on and on. And I said, because, during that period, we had a lot of reflection. We had a lot of time to think about what we wanted and what we didn't want. And that's where I came up with the book title, Hard Ass Made Easy. And then I thought, what? One of my goals in life is, I started writing the books on the Ask. It was for nonprofits. Then I went into business. Then I went to everyday living, but it never stuck. And I feel like this book really, really resonates with people because one of the things I've never done is, number one, be on the cover. They want me to be on the cover. That's a side note. But there are a lot of stories about me. And I never wrote about me in this book. I wrote about everybody else. And you're a life coach. You write about everybody else. You don't write about yourself. So a lot of this has to do with me in reflecting how I went through these experiences so I was able to help some people. So that is the why. I wanted to get this out. And then what will it do? It's already done transformational things from people to feeling like I have a voice to one of the things that was very difficult in my prior books is I would get this. Laura, you have got great advice, but we're not you. We can't ask like you. And so the first chapter is the ask, you always had it in you. How we started as children and asked relentlessly. So I'm not teaching you something, I'm bringing it out of you. And we all start on the same playing field. And that's what I think really distinguishes this book. And no one's ever written about the ask in the way that I have with the structure. And there's a lot of things people can do that will lead them down a path. I give you the words, I give you the 5 laws. Just apply it. Think of the book Atomic Habits, how popular that is. I mean, we've been writing about habits since what? Moses? I mean, really, we've been writing about habits for a very long time. But, James Clear hit on something. What he did was he put his laws into habits. And these are my laws on asking.
Mm-hmm. And they're awesome. And I'd also like to clarify, you mentioned the formula for the ask. Is that the 5 laws of asking?
No.
Okay.
The formula is this. At the moment of asking, like you, and I love this example, asking someone to help you promote your book, every ask at the moment of the ask is this formula: 2 sentences and 1 question. So that prevents many things. Let's talk about why that is. Number 1, it prevents you from over talking, because many people feel like the more they talk, the more you nod. The more you nod, the more you're going to say yes. If I keep talking, we're getting to yes. And what happens is you have no idea what we're talking about. And that's why you get the answer. I have to think about it. So let's push that away. And you could say, even in an email or in a text, or I prefer in person, but you can say, you may be aware my upcoming book is coming out September 15th. I would be so honored if you would be able to promote this book by doing 2 social media posts, in August, which I'm well aware I can help you write. Sentence number 2. Number 3, how do you feel about this? And there's anything I can do to make this happen? ? Now you sit back and you listen to what they have to say. It kills the expectations. It kills the assumptions. It kills you racing around your head. What did you do wrong? What did you do right? On and on. It makes it so crystal clear.
Okay. And so there's no background on the book and my purpose of the book or any of that stuff?
That is before it. But I say the moment you're ready to ask for it, the moment, it should come down to 2 sentences. Yes, there's a lot of groundwork that has to be done, right? You're not going to just put out the 2 sentences in a question and walk away. But you can say, you might, in the first meeting, the first email, first whatever, you may not know, but I'm so ecstatic I'm having a new book coming out. That's the same thing I did when I asked for endorsements. I sent them the table of contents and say, this was clever, which one resonates with you? And everyone picked different ones. And that's when I said, your endorsement, could it write about that specific subject? They're like, sure.
Wonderful. Okay. So there was a bit of an introduction to this is what the book is about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But at the moment you want someone to do something, that's when you use 2 sentences and a question.
2 sentences and a question. I love it. So that keeps you from going into verbal diarrhea from nerves. And you go back to your 5 laws of asking anyway, which is ask with conviction and confidence. All right. Wonderful. So the way that you've packaged up the book is fabulous, by the way. I think it's a wonderful handbook for any person who has any type of asking. And some of the asks that you dive into a little bit are really gritty ones. So I made a list of the ones I'm like, oh yeah, I have clients who struggle with these things all the time. So maybe we could have a look at some of these just to give people a little bit of relief. I love this one. What to do to ask a coworker to do their fair share on a project. Because we've all been there, whether it's at university or whatever, or at work, where somebody is skiving off. So how do we get them to step up and do their share?
That was one of the ones that came to me. You remember during COVID when we all worked remotely, it's like, we all are a team. We're all going to get paid the same thing. The project deadline is tanking. What do I do? Not so nice words, to get my coworker to whatever. So again, you talk a little bit about the background of, we all know the project is due, I'm going to say June 15th. My end is this. Your end is this. Do you think you could have your end done by June 12th? Again, it was specific because everybody was just complaining about everybody. And unless you are specific about what you want, and that really helped. Yes and no. I mean, if it doesn't, then you have to take it to the next level to your boss. But at least for a coworker to do their fair share on probably a joint project that you have or a department project, it's going to be reflected upon. Be specific about what your part is and what their part is and how each has deadlines.
Mm-hmm. And if they come back and say, no, What do you do?
And I would, the simply thing is, well, there's choices. You can do your coworker's part and let your boss know. But at that point, I tell everybody, if there is no other alternative, I think you need to tell them, well, I need to tell our supervisor that you're not going to be doing this. And if that's wrong, correct me.
Right.
If not, go.
Got it. Here's another one I'd love to hear you unpack a little bit. And this is a chronic one. How do you ask for a promotion and or a pay rise?
Well, the good thing is when you're asking for the promotion, that's the time to ask for a pay raise. You don't do one, do the other. I always tell people, do it jointly because it's going to take you a long time to get the raise. So whether it's a raise or promotion, hopefully you do it together. Let's talk about what not to do, and then we'll talk about what to do. Now, I've managed a lot of people in my career, and I can honestly say no one ever asked for a raise the right way because they'd come in this way. Or for promotion, so-and-so left, I should have their title. Lovely. Okay. Or, I've done 18 hours extra each week. I should get paid more. Lovely. Okay. Where is that going to put you? Now, I know that's what you want to say, and I've been there too, but this is what we have to do. You go in, first of all, find a time when it's convenient for your boss, because if it's not, they're going to be looking at other things and it's going to go nowhere. So hopefully you can find the right time. If you tell me there's never not a right time, let's just go in and just say three things. You may be unaware, and most bosses are unaware, that I have filled in for 2 of these jobs in the last 6 months. Sentence number 1. Sentence number 2. Our productivity has gone %. Sentence number 2. I'd like to talk to you now about a promotion to have the title of this with a salary raise of, and give an exact amount, do not give percentages. That's it. And sit back. Now, this is where law number 2 comes in, especially on this topic. You better be ready for everything. If I give it to you, you have to give it to everybody else. The budget is over. This is an HR decision. What makes you think that you're so different than everybody? This is where you really, really can use law number 2.
Okay. So let me just capture that specifically. So you go in and say, I'd like to talk to you about the promotion to X role and the salary increase of X dollars. And that's it.
No, the first thing is, give in the first sentence, give a little reason why you want it. Like, you may be unaware, or as you know, I've been stepping in the shoes of someone. And that's usually the reason, especially now with downsizing and not adding more employees, you've picked up more work.
Yeah.
Okay. So give them the reason. I've picked up more work. I've done this. I've gone on, period. Second, I'd like to talk to you now about the title I'd like is this, and the salary increase, I love this, of 10,000 euros, $10,000 by July 1st. And I always put the date. Can we talk about this now?
Okay, great.
There you go.
And hopefully they say, yes, no, maybe.
Well, the interesting thing is to sit back and see what they say. Now, let's say disappointment comes trudging in and you don't get it, and on and on. This is my favorite thing, especially with this example, is I understand what you had to say. Always acknowledge it. Thank you for your time. Sentence number 2. Third is, can we revisit this in 3 months? Most people don't circle it back. They didn't say no, come back next year, but that's what you heard. And so why wait a year when maybe in 3 months budgets get loosened up?
Mm-hmm. Yep. We have more information, conditions change, etc. Great. I love it. So how do we deal with a no? I think we just sort of said that. It's basically.
Yes. Like it really is. And just say, always say, I love one of my favorite words are circle back. Can we revisit? And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to. Who's going to sit there and say, absolutely not. 3 months is just out of the question. They don't. And they say, fine, but your job is to go back and, put it down that in 3 months, you're going to go and talk about it.
Yep. Okay. Wonderful. So I've got a question about you're on the receiving end of being asked. And some asks are good and some asks are terrible, as you've experienced. How do we respond as leaders to people who are asking us for stuff?
Well, I always say as leaders, especially, we're pretty seasoned at this, and you have 3 ways to go. More information, yes, no. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Do you need more information? Is it a yes? Is it a no? I get this a lot when people are asked for money, and the reason they don't ask a person is that they're going to get asked back for money. Okay? It's the quid pro quo, right? So to that, I say, I know it's difficult, but if someone asks you for money back, think about if you want to do it. And if you don't do it. And if it means them not giving you money, they never wanted to do it in the first place. Okay? They really never did. They're doing it because, a favor to you or something like that. And maybe that's okay. But especially when it comes to money, our emotional firecracker, you have to be very careful asking people for money in priority order, telling them why you want this person to do it, and be prepared that you may get asked back. At that moment, you have to decide whether that's something you want to do or not. Don't do it just because you got money from somebody else. That is going down a bad, bad road.
Yeah, I experienced that quite a lot in the charity sector where, you've asked somebody to donate to your cause and they do. And then 6 months later, 2 months later, they are like, oh, I'm doing this fundraiser. Can you fund me? It
happens with galas. It happens with golf outings. It happens most in those sectors. Yeah. But that's what I said to people. I think you should ask, and don't avoid the ask because you think you're going to be asked back. But when you do get asked back, tell them no. And these are my 3 top charities, and that's what I give to.
Right. Okay. Got it. Laura, I'm so excited about talking about this subject, your expertise on asking. It's time to ask the Fast 5. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay. What is the future technology you most want right now?
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, like the general artificial intelligence?
I want to know the whole scope of it, especially as an author. Is someone going to take my recent book, put it in AI, and they do the sequel to it? I want to know a whole lot more about artificial intelligence because I think it's just beginning and I need to know more about it.
Okay, cool. What's the best tip you ever got for leadership?
I have 2. Listen, then speak. Number 2, always trust your instincts.
Oh, nice. Okay, number 3, what's one problem at work you'd love to wave a magic wand and be fixed right now?
Go back to pre-COVID days so that we can communicate in person.
Okay. This is your chance to give a thumbs up or thumbs down to a leader. A thumbs up to a leader who's doing something right, and if you choose, a thumbs down for somebody who's doing something terrible.
I think the thumbs up have to go to Zelensky in the Ukraine. I mean, you just relentlessly, you see him as the leader anywhere, anytime, in front of third world leaders. Always, I think he gets a huge thumbs up. Who gets a huge thumbs down is Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah? Why are you bagging Elon?
Total ego. Doesn't care less about employees. That's just not a leader in my book.
Okay. Number 5, what's your favorite leadership book or podcast aside from this one?
My favorite was a golden oldie, and it's okay. I give it to Michael Usom's Leading Up. It really helped me very early in my career, and I think it's practical, it's spot on, the stories are great, it's timeless. I just think he nailed it way back then, and I just love that book.
Okay. Leading Up, Michael Usen?
That's right.
Usen. How do you spell Usen?
U-S-E-E-M.
Oh,
Usem.
U-S-E-E-M.
E-E-M.
Okay, got it. Fantastic. And that was the Fast 5. The Zoe Routh Leadership Podcast is proudly sponsored by the Amplifiers Academy. It is an online self-paced leadership development program that you can join at any time and progress at your pace. There are very short video lessons, great checklists and resources and recommendations and book summaries, all there to help boost your leadership thinking and abilities. We focus on leading strategy, leading culture, leading change, and leading performance. So if you want a go-to resource that can help boost your strategic abilities immediately, check us out, Amplifiers Academy, on the ZoeRouth.com website. See you there. All right, Laura. So there's so much more to dig into. What is the one question I haven't asked yet that would be most useful for the listeners? I'm laughing because I'm throwing the questions back to you again.
It's totally fun. Turnaround's fair play, which is good. I think the biggest question, ask and answer, is there one ask you make when you want something for work, when you want something from your family? Is there one ask, or do you do it differently? And do you do it differently depending on the quantity or quality of your ask? Okay? In other words, if you need $1 million or $10, does the ask change? If you need, as we said, that promotion or raise, or you want your kids just to do more around the house, is that a different ask? And I'm here to say, I've made everyone's life, as we said earlier in the show, extraordinarily easy. No hesitation, no fear, no anxiety. There's one ask, and we just covered how to do it. There's one ask. It's seamless. You don't have to think in buckets about what you should be pulling, what you should be saying, change personas, go over here. It's one ask. It will help you in business and in your personal life, and if you are doing something for nonprofits or NGOs.
There you go. 2 sentences, 1 question. That's
there you go. Nice. Well done. Well done.
I'm a good learner.
You are a fast learner.
Laura, I've loved this interview. I love your book. I think it's fantastic. Where can people find out more about you and also about the book?
Very, very easy. 2 ways. If you remember my name, it's Laura, Laura, Fredricks, FREDRICKS.com. Or you can do expert on the ass, EXPERTONTHEASK.com. Both links will send you to the website. Everything is there. A direct link to buy Hard Ass Made Easy, how to get exactly what you want. Very proud of this book. It will be released June 13th, and it is already Amazon's #1 new release on business negotiating.
And it is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. And I will be writing a review for you on all the platforms and recommending it on my bookish newsletter as well. So, Laura, thank you so much for sharing all your insight and wisdom.
Pleasure. And we had fun, right?
We did.
We had fun.
I did. You had fun too.
Score.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There was so much to unpack in that fabulous interview with Laura Fredricks. And my takeaway, take action from this is just get her book, study it, implement it. It's called Hard Asks Made Easy, How to Get Exactly What You Need. And it is as practical and pragmatic as the interview was. So that is my one key recommendation for you. Just get the book. My tip of the week comes from People Stuff. People Stuff, my 4th book, which is subtitle is Beyond Personality Problems, an Advanced Handbook for Leadership. And given what we spoke about with Laura, I wanted to speak a little bit to the Ask with Confidence piece. And this little section I'm going to read from the book from page 53, which is part 3, the chapter on you and archetypes, talks a little bit about how we can use archetypes to get confidence. So here we go. It's the boardroom case study on the Pied Piper. Jennifer looked despondent. It had been another tough week. I'm sick of the battle. Every time I go into an executive meeting, I feel like I'm fighting uphill all the way. They don't get it. I just can't get them to listen. She had been advocating for changes to basic business processes she saw as fundamental requirements to safe practices. Her colleagues were skeptical at best, stonewalling at worst. I feel like a crusader in an urgent war the others don't even know we're in. We're all going to come unstuck if we don't fix this. How does it feel to be a crusader? I asked. Lonely, dangerous, exhausting, maybe even a little pointless. Is there a different role you might play? One that isn't so confrontational or focused on battles? Jennifer sat back and paused. I wonder if I could do it better with a softly approach, more of a Pied Piper. That's different. How does that feel? It's a different kind of challenge. I'll need to be more clever and concerted in my efforts. You know what, though? It feels a bit more fun. Jennifer changed her approach. Instead of heady arguments about why they must do something and how perilous it was if they didn't, and berating colleagues for no sense of urgency, she softened her language. She used suggestions. She used stories. She invited opinions. She asked questions of others about their priorities. She shaped her recommendations to resonate with her colleagues' biggest concerns. Bit by bit, she got her safety agenda changes implemented. She had to rein in her charge ahead energy and timeline in favor of a more measured approach, but she got the job done. And I go on to ask a number of different leaders how they would describe their role as leaders with their teams. And some of them said things like, I'm a traffic control cop, just constantly just directing traffic. I feel like a referee trying to keep the warring factions apart. I'm a gardener. Each of the plants need a little different amounts of water, and so on. My key recommendation in this chapter of the book is to look to archetypes. And there's 5 archetypes I recommend for leaders, with the main one being the elder, where we balance both wisdom and compassion. Imagine if you showed up with your asks as somebody who is embodying the elder. It makes a big difference, right? So you could come to an ask being the little child asking for a favor, or you could come to the ask as an elder asking for help. Makes a significant difference. At least I think so. So that's from People Stuff. Coming up, next on the show, we have a solo-sode. I'm diving into ethics, character, and virtues as they pertain to leading change. And I think it's a really important topic that we constantly need to keep in mind. And I think at this point in our leadership journey, with all the stuff that's going on around us, we only have ethics, character, and virtues to make sure that we make wise and compassionate decisions. So that's coming up next week. Now, as a close, I'm putting in an ask based on the conversation with Laura. How does this sound? I'm asking you, dear listener. I'm releasing Terra Blanca on September the 1st, officially on Amazon. I'd love to get your support with a social media post from you on your favorite platform on that date. Would you be able to do so if I provide you with the text, images, and a copy of the ebook? Email me, Zoe at Zoe Routh, by August 15th if you want to be part of the magical crew of bringing Terra Blanca to life and to the public on that date. So that was a genuine ask. If you want to be part of my street team to help promote Terra Blanca via social media posts on September the 1st, I'd be deeply grateful. Just email me, Zoe at zoerouth.com, and say, Street Team Terra Blanca, and I'll give you all the details from there. In the meantime, live well, lead well.
You've been listening to the Zoe Routh Leadership Podcast. To find out more about leadership of the future or to contact Zoe, go to zoerouth.com.